I received an email from a small producer of olive oil in Greece, um, telling me that they heard about our research through some collaborators in Athens, and they're makers of olive oil, and their olive oil was found to have the highest level of oleocanthal ever found in any olive oil at that time. It was about 7 or 8 years ago. And they asked if I'm interested in getting some their olive oil to use it in research. And I said yes, but to be honest, I was thinking to myself, what am I going to do with olive oil? I'm a serious scientist. I wear a white lab coat. I work with pipettes and reagents that I order from, chemical companies and pharmaceutical companies. Like, yes, olive oil is great. It's food, but well, what kind of interesting scientific discoveries can be found in there? And that's where I was terribly wrong. So I designed a very simple experiment to test the power of the olive oil in affecting cancer cells. So we grow cancer cells in a Petri dish with some buffer that's mainly water and some salts. So it doesn't mix very well with olive oil. So it was a little bit of a challenge. How would I try olive oil in those cancer cells? Later on, when we work with animal models, it's a little easier. I took some olive oil and I spun it and I shook it until I knew I could mix it really well with the buffer that the cancer cells needed. And I treated a couple of plates of cancer cells of different ones, some prostate cancer and some breast cancer cells with that olive oil mixture. And I went home to my family. I came back in the morning and all the cells were dead. So the first thought I had in my head, oh, well, maybe it's like bleach, something you put olive oil on cells, it killed them. So I went down to the supermarket during my lunch break and I picked up a very generic bottle of olive oil. And I repeated the same experiment with that olive oil from the supermarket. I went home, fed dinner to my kids, came back to the lab the next morning, and lo and behold, those cells were as happy as I left them the previous night. So there is something very, very different and very special in that olive oil that came to me all the way from Greece, from these two brothers that made the olive oil with the most oleocanthal versus the olive oil I got in the supermarket. And that's when I knew that I have something there. And that's when I knew there's a very interesting story hiding in those plain facts.